Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. So we'd like to talk privately about privacy with you. And from me, you're gonna get really bad puns and the problems of we are facing today with privacy. And Cathrin, my dearest colleague, will present you the solutions for those problems. So what we see here is that we, as a fast-moving industry, as omnichannel and e-commerce traders and retailers, we have a lot of movement in privacy as well. So you see that the digital marketing landscape is changing really fast, but it's not changing in one direction. Because as we see, for example, with the Google's revised approach for the third-party cookies, it was originally phased out in Chrome for 2022 and then reversed in 2024. So there is a lot of movement in both sides. What we also see is that we have a huge increased regulatory scrutiny in affecting data and data collection practices. And we have a heightened consumer awareness and demand for transparency. So for setting the stage, the situation is very, very moving. So what do we see, what do we face as omni-channel marketers and e-commerce marketers? As you see here, I only brought memes. What we have on the one side is, of course, the regulatory pressure. So, for example, the General Data Protection Regulation of the European Union, as we all know, it's the GDPR, and the California Consumer Privacy Act, for example, from California. So what we see is that strict rules on data collection are implemented in most parts of the world, also in China. And we have high fines of up to 4% of global revenue or 20 million euros by the GDPR. So there is a lot you have to take care of if you don't want to lose money. But there is also antitrust investigations. For example, Google Sandbox was facing some, where regulators question the limits of competition in the digital ad space. And we are not done yet. What you see here are all the legislatory projects we see by the European Union for the upcoming season, so legislative season. And what you see here in dark blue is everything that is already implemented, and in light blue that is planned, or in even lighter blue, the things that are going to be prepared. So that's only the digital sector. It's not everything we are planning in EU for regulation, it's only the digital sector. So you see that there are stricter data collection rules. And of course, we also have the DMA, the Digital Markets Act, that limits how dominant platforms use consumer data as well. Or in connection to China, we have also the Chinese Personal Information Protection Law from 2021 that is also strengthening the cross-border data transfers. So what can we do if we are dealing with so much regulation? First of all, we can work on first-party and zero-party data. That's something Cathrin's gonna explain. And we are going to explain you how privacy-preserving technologies work. We have some news that are not shown here because they are pretty new. They're from this week. We know that the e-privacy regulation was withdrawn. So for everybody who remembers, almost 10 years, we were discussing the question of e-privacy in the European Union, and they're intentionally intended to complement the GDPR as an e-privacy regulation. It has been abandoned now by the new European Commission after 8 years of negotiations. On the one hand side, we could say, oh, that's great news, less regulation. But on the other hand side, we have to say that now we only have the 2002 e-privacy directive. Who was doing e-commerce in 2002? Anybody? Just stand up, because you 2002 e-commerce marketeers over here? I think there were about 5 hands up there. So for those who were working in e-commerce in 2002, some things have changed. So of course, actually we need an update on e-privacy here, but still it remains in effect, and it has some legal inconsistencies across the EU member states and data retention policies that remain unresolved. But all those regulations you saw are, of course, also working with privacy updates, and they are everywhere. So in almost every digital sector regulation we see from the European Union or from the German level, we have privacy updates. So the question is, of course, how to deal with it. But it wouldn't be me showing you all the problems we have to handle if I wouldn't say that it's not only the regulatory thing we have to deal with. We also have to deal with our main enemy, our main friend, the consumer. The consumer is not trusting us with data. That's a fact, and that's something we have to resolve. What you see here is that trust is eroding. 9% drop in users feeling benefits outweigh the privacy concerns, and only 34% of the consumers think companies are transparent about data use. So almost 70% of your and our customers are not trusting you. And the indicators are that 41 believe that data protection has becoming even harder, and 9% of consumers, and I think that's very, very interesting, 9% of consumers bought non-tracking devices since 2022, so in 2.5 years. That's quite a number. But it's not only the consumer. It's not only the legislative part. It's also you. Because we have to be honest. Data and working with data is not only hoarding the data for the data's sake. That's 2010. Now we're in 2025, and we have to work with the data. If we want to use the data, for example, for AI, we want to use the data for the customer, we have to work with it. And therefore, it's not good, not for your money, it's not good for your carbon footprint, and also not good for the trust just to collect the data, every data you can get. But you have to take a look at the things that you are collecting and what they are using for. So, for example, collecting data can also imply compliance risk and is actually high risk with a quite low return of investment. So quality over quantity, and how this works, that's the part of Cathrin, because I'm only here for all the problems to solve.
Thank you so much, Dara. So I hope you're all still very much in the mood to get to know more about the solutions, what we can do today. So to navigate the changes and the challenges that we actually propose a first aid kit consisting of 4 strategies. So the first strategy is to leverage first-party data and zero-party data. The second strategy is to build trust through consent-based personalization. The third strategy is to use privacy-preserving technologies, which nowadays becomes more and more important. Also, the fourth one, and the one that we always have in mind, is to maintain customer trust and to drive growth. So for the next few slides, we're going to dive into the first 3 strategies, and we're all going to give you a short example towards that. Okay. Me and the button are not yet friends, but I think I'm going to figure it out at some point. So let's get started with the first strategy, which is to leverage the first-party and zero-party data. So what you can do here as a solution is actually loyalty programs. And to get on the same page, we first need to clarify that first-party data is data that comes directly from the customer interactions, while zero-party data is the data that is explicitly shared by the customer. Loyalty programs are a prime example of leveraging this type of data. And the programs are gaining more and more foothold in the Western European market as consumers are trying to look for savings opportunities due to the tough economic times. Consumers are also very much willingly, because of that, to share their preferences in exchange for some kind of rewards, which is creating a win-win scenario. This fosters, in the end, stronger relationships and enables brands to offer more relevant experience for the consumers without violating their privacy. A well-designed loyalty program builds retention and strengthens the brand affinity as well. So this is something that you always have to keep in mind. And we brought you a best practice example from the Rewe Group. I think most of you have been to Rewe already. Some of them are big fans. I know my student friends, of course, are huge fans of them. And one reason for that is their loyalty programs. So Rewe provides here a great example of first-party data utilization. Their loyalty program is called Rewe Bonus, and it's leveraging the personalized offers. It has improved the customer retention and also the customer engagement. Customers opt in, knowing that their data is used transparently, which is then reinforcing their trust. This demonstrates how businesses can balance the personalization also with the privacy considerations, because as we've seen in the slides before, trust is declining. Rewe also implemented a green loyalty program, which is going quite well, or campaign, that allows the customer to exchange the accumulated bonus points from the Rewe Bonus app for sustainable products such as lunch boxes made out of glass. But also they can contribute to environmental causes with them. What is also quite interesting is, okay, that one didn't work. I see it's the old slides, but we can work with that, so it's no issues. They also developed a mascot for that, which is called Boni. Some of you might have seen it. It's a little like red sticker with a smiley face on it. And they're using it to advertise it, to get in touch with the customers and to make it a bit, let's say, sweeter to the customer. So this slide we don't need. And let's come to the second strategy, which is the best practice, which is the build trust through consent-based personalization. So what you have to use here is transparency. So transparency is the key to consumer trust, like to accelerate the trust and to regain it. So businesses should and must clearly communicate how they collect and store and use the customer data. Consent-based personalization ensures that users feel in control. This reduces the data-related skepticism. So instead of opaque tracking, brands should focus on permission-driven engagement. Providing clear opt-in choices and value in return enhances the compliance and customer relationships. Always keep in mind here, please, that the user experience should also be privacy-friendly, that is self-saying, but also please ensure that consent mechanisms on your website or on your app are intuitive and easy to understand. And I mean here, easy to understand for a regular consumer or customer, not for an IT expert. That is very important to keep in mind. So the best practice we brought for you today is from About You. I think several people tried it already out because I see some great outfits here. So About You is a strong case for consent and trust-driven personalization. Their approach, it ensures that users consciously provide the data in exchange for a more curated shopping experience. They emphasize transparency, explaining how the data is used, and they tailor it to make more fitting and better recommendations for them. This example showcases how brands can use the personalization without compromising the privacy of the consumers. So while ensuring user consent aligns with data protection regulations, the platform customizes the shopping experience. Simple as that. And we now get to the third strategy, which is the use of privacy-preserving technologies. I think a lot of people here might be very interested in that because this is something that we are not going to get rid of in the future. So what is important here is that we have to adopt to privacy-first technologies. This is a crucial step in the new digital marketing area. You will not get around it. And solutions like differential privacy, like federated learning, like anonymization techniques help the businesses to analyze data that they gain without compromising the user's identity. What you can also use is server-side tracking and contextual advertising. These are very good alternatives to the invasive cookie tracking that has been used before many times. So these named technologies, they ensure the compliance while maintaining the ability to generate insights and optimize campaigns. The example we've brought here for you today is from Schwarz Digits. So recognizing the importance of data that it holds today, the value, the Schwarz Group established Schwarz Digits. So Schwarz Digits is focusing solely on IT. They offer cloud computing and cybersecurity services for internal as well as external clients. They amplify the use of privacy-preserving technologies in action. How do they do that? They do that by leveraging encrypted data and secure analytics while delivering valuable consumer insights without the direct personal tracking. What is important to notice here is that this proactive approach reassures the customers and future-proofs the data strategies. So in an evolving regulatory landscape, this is a huge benefit. Another benefit, especially for the German market, is the key selling point of the fact that Schwarz Digits stores and processes all their gained data exclusively in Austria and Germany. So they're adhering to the very stringent local data protection issues. And let's not forget our beloved e-commerce trends. This is something that you, of course, also have to keep in mind. So the German e-commerce market is rapidly evolving, and privacy-driven innovation plays a major role nowadays. So I want to share with you basically 4 trends. So the first one is mobile-first shopping. 55% of all online sales is nowadays done via smartphones. And who of us is not guilty of that? Also, the smartphone is the preferred mode to use now. It is faster and is seamless. Also, another big factor is the social media influence. So platforms like Instagram and TikTok, they drive the discovery and purchasing behavior of consumers. Also, we have the digital payments on the other hand. With solutions like PayPal, like Klarna and Giropay, it got more and more easy to actually buy stuff online and also to sell it online. This all increased the trust and also the conversion rates. It can be said in total that the market entry trips for businesses who want to enter the German market are first of all optimizing their businesses for the use of smartphones, integrating secure payment methods, as well as leveraging social commerce. So by aligning the lead generation strategies of our first aid kit with these current trends, businesses can maintain both growth and compliance in a privacy-driven landscape. So we don't want to let you go just off with that, so we're going to do a short summary for you. So please keep in mind that privacy is always an opportunity. Don't see it as a blocker. Many businesses actually do that, see that as a challenge, but it can be a very good competitive advantage if you do it right and if you follow these steps that we provided you with here today. So consumers today, they are just more likely to trust brands that prioritize privacy and transparency as well. So adopting privacy-friendly marketing techniques enhances the brand reputation as well as the loyalty. Innovation in privacy-preserving technologies can actually lead to new businesses and new business opportunities as well as business differentiation, which is in the end a benefit for your own business. So instead of resisting privacy regulations, which I know we all do and tend to from time to time, please embrace them strategically so this can drive long-term success. So we would like to thank you for your attention so far and would like to ask if you have any more questions.
Thank you very much. Big round of applause already here.
Yeah, loved your presentation. As someone who shops on an e-commerce website, I usually don't read your consent and privacy questions. So my question is, do you have an example of a good brand who's done that right in such a way that it's easy for someone to understand? Not just, so for me, the default is, yeah, accept and move on, because I just want to get to the next page. Any brand that's done a good job on that, if you have some examples?
What I would refer to here is definitely about you, what we showed earlier. So what is very important here is that you make the cookie tracking things, that you make it understandable for the consumer. So don't use the legislative speech that or habitus that you would usually refer to. Use simple words so people can actually understand, and you can still refer to all the law part in another section and be like, hey, if you want to know more, click here. But what is very important is also to underline the fact that the consumer is actually gaining something with it. Because honestly, yes, we can put all the cookies off, but then we have the results that we don't want because they're very untargeted. But it depends on the consumer, of course.
Perhaps to add on, because I'm the bad cop in this situation of us two, if to be quite honest with you, it could be a strategy for you to be as legal in your speech as possible. Because as legal as you are in your speech, the less the people will understand what you mean, and the more will click on OK. And that's not a quite good trust move. So if your brand or if your e-commerce business wants to build trust, that's the wrong way to go. But if you are just there to hoard a lot of data because you want to train AI, for example, for special business parts of yours, that could be also a way to go. I think it's very important for us to be honest about the decisions you're making, and making a text hard to understand for your customer could be a strategic decision as well. Not a popular opinion, not an ethical opinion, but an opinion that has space here because we're talking about business.
I would stick to one of questions that come to my mind. I think one of the most important things for many e-commerce marketers is retargeting. And there it's going to be especially difficult already, maybe getting even more difficult. Is this would be this like a perfect example for relying on first-party and zero-party data, or what would be your recommendation to really improve that channel as well?
Yeah, so if we see privacy as part of the business being in the context of business and retail at the moment, where we see a huge stagnation of consume, to be honest, where it's hard to sell people something because every one of us has 253 t-shirts in its cupboard, and we do not need a 254th. In this atmosphere, in this environment, retargeting with sale purposes could be very good for example, zero data. So you give me your data, I'll give you some extra goodies, I'll give you some sale, I'll give you some reductions, because we're all dealing with stagnation of consume, but we're also dealing with a lot of inflation. So of course, the customer at the moment is very, very sensitive to prices. And that could be one of the strategies.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have a question. How Alibaba use AI and big data for customer service and things to run better?
That's something you have to ask Alibaba. But as a non-Alibaba customer or and also non-Alibaba employee, I would say that what we see in China, not only with Alibaba, but also with other manufacturer to consumers like Temu, like Shein, we have a huge data usage. We know that so the protection of information law from China is just a part of what we see here. And it's not a surprise that, for example, Temu was called out by the German regulators for using dark patterns and for not being compliant to GDPR. So we see a huge usage of data on the one hand side, but we have no transparency on the question of how it's used. And I think that in the next couple of years, we see it on the legislative side of Germany, and we also see it on the legislative side of the European Union, where we had a whole economy department meeting predicting just due to this topic that a lot of these practitioners and of those strategies will be revealed to the European consumers in comparison to what we know now.
Thank you.